welcome everyone coming in. While we have everybody come in, I want to welcome you all to Unleash Your Potential, leveraging Viva Sales and Copilot. I'm Shay Drake, Marketing Director here at JourneyTEAM and your host for this webinar today. And while we're waiting for people, we have a lot of people coming in. This got very popular and I'm honestly not surprised. We're going to dive into how Microsoft is weaving AI into offerings to help minimize some of that work that tends to drag us down a little bit. We do have quite a few people, so while we wait and for everyone to kind of get settled in, I have a question for you all, and kind of think, what are some of the tasks and things in your day-to-day that you would love to make easier, love to expedite, maybe even love to get rid of? What are some of the tasks and things that you would love to make easier? For me, I would love to take away a lot of the admin work and the coordination. I think that would be awesome. But yeah, we'll get into that more. So before we dive in, we'll go over just a little bit of background about JourneyTEAM if you haven't met us before. And here are some of the awards and recognition we've received over the years, including Microsoft Inner Circle, which only the top 1% of Microsoft partners achieve. We've also been Partner of the Year 2 times. And a little bit more background about us. We have 9 Microsoft Solution Partner Specializations. This is our 30th anniversary as a company. So it's a very exciting year for us in general. And this is where JourneyTEAM can most assist with Microsoft technologies across the stack. You can see there's a lot there. The power of Microsoft is really in how a lot of the products and ecosystem work together. And we believe that as a team here at JourneyTEAM as well, that you get the most benefit by working across a lot of the different products and technologies. All right, and here are our presenters. I already introduced myself, but I'm Shay Drake. I'm Marketing Director here at JourneyTEAM, and with me I have Brandon Enrigo from our CRM team. And then joining us as a guest from Microsoft is Steve Schneiderman. And Steve, you and I have had some really good conversations over the last little bit. I was actually reading something the other day, and it said that up to 58% of our work week is spent on work about work. That's your emails, your note taking, your meeting notes, and it's kind of like, and that's even trying to find the right document or the right thing to send to somebody type of thing. So I'm kind of curious. I'd love to know more about your thoughts there. Do you think that's the right number?
I think it's probably higher. You know, I would say since the pandemic in 2020, I would bet you that the quantity of email and the quantity of meetings has probably tripled, Shay. And I say that because I see how it is affecting me and my peers even here at Microsoft. And so, I think it's gotten unwieldy and we need help, to try to bring some sanity back into our workday. And it's real hard. And, when you look at all the time we spend in email and in meetings these days, flitting about, hopping from one meeting to the next, and then trying to squeeze the email responses and reading in between those meetings. Never really sure what we're responding to. Not sure about what's being talked about in the meeting because we've joined late because we were at 2 other meetings before that. And no time to breathe, right? We're exhausted because we're just going back to back to back from one task to another, constantly task switching. So I think that number is considerably higher.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me either, just based off of my week that I know about. So with us talking about AI and that type of thing, do you think it's possible for us to get a good portion of that back? Like, I would love to get at least half of that 58% back. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts there?
Yeah. I mean, the numbers are staggering, right? And so, you ask yourself realistically, what can AI infused technology really bring to the picture? And, if you could just get a half hour back a day, that's equal to 3 weeks a year. But if you could get an hour back a day, that's equal to 6 weeks a year. Imagine if your year had 13 and a half months. What more could you get done? And maybe you'd have a little bit more breathing room and wouldn't feel so exhausted at the end of the day because you'd have some time in between things that you didn't have before. So yeah, I think AI infused applications like Copilot and Viva Sales can transform the way we all worked And as I've been going through Copilot demonstrations with my customers in Arizona and Colorado, their jaws just drop when they realize what we've done. That $15 billion investment in OpenAI has not been for naught, I assure you.
Oh, I believe it. I'm really interested also in some of like your experience because you've got a lot of experience in automating tasks and teams, right? Like
Yeah.
in your past.
Yeah,
I'd love to.
yeah. I've been at Microsoft for this is my sixth year, but I've been in technology for over 40 years, and so I've seen a thing or two, as they say in the farmers commercial, and I've sat all around that round table of corporate leaders as well. So I haven't just been selling my whole life. And I'm frequently called upon to try to help automate tasks, either internally or externally with customers. When I was the director of sales automation in 1995 at WorldCom, they said, "Can you please automate our 2,000 salespeople and the management team across the country?" And they tried several times to do it, and they thought that it was all about just handing out new laptops. And I assured them that if they really wanted to see productivity gains, they needed to think about the way people worked. And so I studied kind of time and management approach to try to understand time and motion. How do people manage their time and their tasks? And boy, oh boy, the amount of administrative work that most people had to do even back in the 90s was astounding. And even though email was still relatively new, the amount of time a sales rep, for instance, spent alt tabbing between 10 or 12 different applications to get the information they needed to move their sales forward a bit, it was exhausting. They were not happy, and their customer FaceTime was really a fraction of their day. And so, I tried to figure out ways even back then. What can we do to accelerate things? And if you look at the way technology and has changed, the problems are still there. Somehow we've managed to automate processes, but now they're just really fast, bad processes. And so I think with the advent of AI infused applications like Copilot and Viva Sales, we have a unique opportunity to really transform and to really show people how they can do more with less. We talk about that and hear it in ads all the time. But the reality is, with AI doing some of these tasks for you and facilitating things, boy, oh boy, what a difference it's going to make.
Too true. Really, really good call outs there. Um, I think we're ready to move on with what Brandon and Riga share with us. So, Steve, I'd love to keep hearing your thoughts throughout this. And Rigo, I'm going to go ahead and hand things over to you so you can teach us more.
I'm Rigo Sierra. I'm here, senior architect here at JourneyTEAM. I've talked to more about Viva Sales. I also echo what the team, Steve and Shay, have done. I use Viva Sales. I use Copilot, even though it's in preview. Some of it's in preview. I use it every day, all day. It does help me. It does alleviate some of the things that I that I don't want to do, and it just helps get things done a little faster. So just kind of set the tone. What we're going to do is I'm going to walk you through some of the offerings and highlights of what Viva Sales has to offer. Show you a few screenshots of what that looks like in practice. But I think I'm going to be that brick wall before I get to Brandon because Brandon's going to show everybody the live demo. I know that's kind of what people are looking at. Just show me through the clicks, show me how it's done, and show me how it behaves. Brandon's has a ton of things to show there. So I'm going to walk you through all these parts. I have a few slides that I want to show you guys. I just walk you through, guys, kind of highlight a few things, and we'll get going. All right, what is Viva Sales? Viva Sales is let sellers use D365 and Teams, capture data and not do it in a manual way. It gives you more time for selling versus keystroke entering, which again, in the Salesforce area side of the house, I know our sales team, they want to be in front of the customers more than they actually want to do enter data. So Viva Sales Copilot actually does that for you. So some of the things that you get from that, the capabilities is AI generated summaries, emails, conversation intelligence, and it's also offered, even though Steve may slap my hand after I say this, It's offered D365 and as well as in Salesforce. As you can see, he's smiling. So we're
I've used
even though
both,
we're
so
yeah,
they both need
even though
help.
we're a Microsoft shop, and they do offer it on both sides of the fence. So it's great offering. Um, um, in regards to customer identified emails, it does capture when the email comes in who the customer is. And again, I'm going to show you a little bit of screenshots in the further slides and how that behaves and how that looks like. More than anything, which is really cool in regards to this, if you already have a E5 license or a Sales Pro or a Premium, it's already included in your license. There's no additional cost, which is really great. All right, what's included? It has read-write capabilities, so you can be in your Outlook, you can be in Teams. It does kind of tap into your CRM and draw in key data points from those customers and say, hey, if I want to preserve or archive or send a message against this customer, you have that capability right there at your fingertips. You're not kind of what Steve was saying, that alt tab screen changing from screen to screen. That is plugged and layered in within all of those applications, that it lets your team just scale fast, and it makes them more productive. It's like we said, it's lived in it lists in Outlook and Teams automatically. It reduces the need to add customers already having your CRM tool. So if you already have that, installing that application in the tool, it just makes life that much easier. It helps the team collectively collaborate more efficiently and share information across each other, not only to customer to vendor or vice versa, but within your organization as well. How is Viva Sales different from D365 Sales? Well, again, it is offered on Dynamics 365 as well as Salesforce. It cuts out the busy work. And again, myself included in that, is I hate doing the manual labor part. If I had a tool that allows me just to kind of facilitate some of the daily minutia that I go through, it's really good. And this is one of the tools that allows me to do that. It gives you AI-driven suggestions. It allows, more than anything, it allows to have your sales team do what they do best, which is crush it and sell it. So alleviating some of that day-to-day busy work, this tool does do that for everybody, not only the sales team. Write an email with Copilot. So when you have Copilot installed, it gives you a few flavors of how you want to describe or do an email with them. It gives you ways to either gives you options how to suggest a call, write replies based on based on today or tomorrow, or empathize on the feedback, provide product service details, which again we'll touch on that on the customer service side, and it also lets you resolve customer problems. So this is not only just to reply on emails, but if you had a call center as an example, and you guys are dealing with common issues or common feedback or common cases, this is really cool to have embedded within your customer service, which we'll touch on in a little bit. It gives that same consistent messaging, and it allows your sales force or your customer service force to actually kind of communicate effectively and keep that cohesive messaging across the organization. Oh, I talked to Joe and he told me X. I talked to Brandon, he told me Y. In this case, you have a singular message, consistent, that is customer facing, which is awesome. All right. So here is how to write an email with Copilot. Here, how I suggest how reply with suggest with meeting with a customer. As you can see, I'm going left to right. You have your inbox, and if you see that little red tag that I put under the ellipsis, that's where you would click it, or in your case, we'll probably have it installed and have a button already there. But you can go there and it'll have Viva Sales already installed. You select it, and then you have this little box to your right of that. So as you see there, it says describe an email. You click on that button, and in the middle, I went ahead and did two things incorrectly. Did a run-on sentence and a poor grammar. So you can see that I said, I would like to have lunch with you and follow up on the topics that we discussed in our last call. Again, poor grammar, it was totally intentional. And if you see, once you go ahead and execute on that on your right-hand side, that's what Copilot delivers to you. Because it takes what you want to say and it polishes it up in a way that you can create a clean message back to that customer.
That's great. I really like that feature. We spend so much time trying to cram as much information as we can into an email, and bad grammar and spelling and all that. That's going to make us look a lot more professional going forward. I love that.
Exactly. So here is another use case of how to use responses, right? So I took an existing email that I received, and as you can see here, it shows what kind of messaging you want to reply back to. Is it a reply with an inquiry, make a proposal, add a concern, or add a customized response? So what I did is took make a proposal based on the email that I received. If you look at it, is once you click on it, it scans the email that you are applying it to, and then it outputs a suggestion based on that reply, which is incredibly cool. Again, you have one cohesive message with your team in the event that they get a similar email, similar concerns, or similar um, issues of any sort. You have a singular message that you can put in front of the client. Okay, here is, I took the previous example and added how this is preserved in your customer record in your CRM, right? And again, using Dynamics 365 or using swear words like Salesforce, it behaves the same way. It's the same way. So again, I got that same email, and if you looked at it, I have a different tab open, and it's like a D365 at the top, right, of the email. It's highlighted in blue. When you click on that, it shows the account that it's associated to it. In this case, it's associated to a Brandon record. So you can see that customer card and key critical data points that you need for that customer. So you have that information there. So you can kind of either tailor a response, customize it the way you want, or confirm that is the customer that you think that you are needing to reply back to based on that email. So if you look at the other section here, is if you look at the other spot, is if you open it, that ellipsis, it also shows you that you can open Dynamics 365 straight from Outlook. You don't have to do the Alt tab, you can open it there. And one of the points that I wanted to make here by opening that up and clicking the ellipsis is when you click on that open D365, on your right-hand side, the very last screenshot is you see that account card. Not only that, you see that email that's preserved under that customer record. So if, say, you won the lottery, you phased yourself out. Hey, what did Rigo say to Brandon 2 weeks ago? Well, Rigo's no longer in the organization. I won the lottery. I'm no longer there. Is Shay, Steve can go in there as supervisors or whatever, or even counterparts, and say, let me see what that communication looked like so I can pick up where he left off. You have that information preserved there. And again, you don't have to duplicate that. That is all integrated behind the scenes, and it's seamless, which is great.
Yeah, not having to do that whole alt tab thing is just saves so much time, doesn't it?
Yeah. It does. I love it. I love it. The fact that I don't have to transcribe that over to that and
Copy
maybe forget
paste.
what I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you have to retype it, it just becomes very shorthanded by the time it reaches its destination. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So the last one, which I think it's really cool, is if you had a customer service or a call center that deals with ongoing issues, let it be issues, warranty issues, or repairs of any sort. This is really, really cool. Here's how you can draft up an email, and you can ask it a free form question that you would typically ask your supervisor. You have that information. Your end users are empowered to kind of generate the response that they need to. So here I have a case record open, and I played the scenario that I sell bikes. Person that called me goes, I have a problem with my bike. I don't know how to fix the tire that's on my bike. So what you do here, I opened up Copilot here on your right-hand side, and if you look at the question where I have a little little red marking there, is how do you fix a flat tire on my bike? You simply ask it the question. You hit, once you input it the question, you hit enter, you search, and it executes and it retrieves a number of amount of information that you can respond back to that customer that did the inquiry. Because sometimes is it an e-bike? Is it what kind of rim is it? Like you have that all that information at their fingertips that you can then inform the customer how to fix again their flat tire, which is really really cool. So there are a ton of ways that we can definitely empower your end user because that's whose life we're making actually better as well. Not only the customer at the other end of the phone, but we also making that end user that is supporting that customer, their lives that much better as well. Okay, I know I ran through that slide pretty fast, but I know you probably want to see a live and breathing demo, which Brandon's going to show us in the next piece. Those were the last piece. Those were the pieces that I wanted to touch on. I know those are just screenshots, but Brandon's going to show us a live and breathing demo that will touch on most of these areas here.
Yeah, while Brandon gets ready to show us that demo, there was a question in here about data within the tenant. So if there are those who are shy about what the AI will do with their data. And so Brandon Arrigo, I know a little bit about this off the top of my head as far as like how it utilizes data, but I think you guys probably know more than I do.
Steve, would you hate me if I punted this to you since you're from Microsoft? I know the answer, but I think coming from the horse's mouth, right?
Well,
because
I'm not
everything
a
we're going to say
technical
is going to be
person.
validated by Steve.
Yeah, I'm not a technical person, but I play one on TV sometimes. We've been told that, all the data lives and breathes in your tenant. It's governed and secured in the same way that all the rest of the M365 data is secured and governed. And so you can pretty much rest assured that you have nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
That's just
Contained
kind of a
within your
safe,
tenant.
broad
Yeah.
answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also according to like user roles, right? So if I have a certain
Right.
role, I won't see what I don't have access to, right? Like
Right.
that's
Yeah.
I can't
essentially
see
how
your
it's
stuff. You
handled.
can't see mine. Whatever governance is already set up through Azure AD is going to just trickle up. Same thing for the security settings.
Yeah. Putting kind of Steve, kind of to your point, putting the CIO hat, right? He has to make sure that the information's secure. And kind of to Steve's point is, yeah, it's contained within your tenant. It's not gonna leave the tenant. But to Shay's point is, it's still then it trickles down based on roles. Who's going to get to see what pieces of that?
Awesome. Thanks for the question in the chat. I figured that was a good segue for that. Oh, we have some other good questions, but Brandon, I'll insert those in where they should go, but I don't want to get in the way of your demo that you're going to show.
Yeah, let's save some of those questions for the end, but I would love to circle back and kind of talk about some of those unique scenarios. KPIs are big. If it's not measured success, how can you identify if it's successful? So great question, Donald. All right, so I will go ahead and Shay, could you move to the agenda slide? And then I'll share my screen. What I am looking to do is, so I'm going to be covering essentially showing what Rigo showed in the PowerPoint slide deck. The PowerPoint slide deck, it's going to be there. You're going to have that as a deliverable kind of for this webinar. I'm going to be showing the live version of what that looks like and some of the capabilities, especially for those that have seen Viva Sales previously. It is continuing to be updated. So it's even different this week than it was 2 weeks ago. And so I'm going to call out a couple of those key specific features and quality of life improvements. The other features that I'm looking to show is I'm going to be showing how Copilot works in customer service and Dynamics 365 marketing specifically. I don't have sales called out. For one, the one thing that's available from the sales Copilot perspective is the email, draft email, and write email, that kind of features and capability, and I'm going to be showing that from the customer service lens anyways. So as more features for sales become available from a preview and a general release standpoint, I will include those. We'll probably do a follow-up webinar to make sure everybody knows kind of how to use those features and what you can do with them. The other thing before I take over the slide is, when it comes to this agenda, I'm going to be showing a lot of different things, and I'm not going to be talking a lot about, for example, how to navigate in CRM, the different modules, kind of what you're seeing. And so I'm gonna do the best I can as far as calling out how some of that works and kind of where I am at, but I'm not doing an instructional as far as this is how customer service works. This is kind of some of the impacts and kind of the value add for that module or marketing from that perspective. So I apologize if I get anybody lost, but hopefully I'll be focusing on the key aspects of value that Copilot is providing in these very specific use cases in these given modules. And having said that, I will come over here and I will share my screen. And can everybody see it? All right. The first thing I'm going to show is essentially the live demo version of what Rigo was showing us in the slide deck as far as kind of some of the capabilities. And I think the one thing that's really cool that he also talked about is that it will take bad grammar and Copilot will provide that in good grammar. And I've also seen that from the customer service side. So if you have a knowledge article and you use it with Copilot, it will update the grammar and kind of give you a different variation of what that knowledge article is, what that content is. In this case, I just got my email mailbox here. I am showing the web client. This Copilot works and Viva Sales work not only for the web client, but also for the desktop app. So just because I'm showing the web client to make it easier from a demo perspective, doesn't mean those like myself that use the desktop client almost exclusively doesn't mean that we are missing out. These features are all available there as well. So here I have an example as far as an email that I have received from myself to my demo user. And I have specifically called out that I want 100 units of Nike Air Jordans. Nike Air Jordans are a product that I have in my CRM system, as well as 50 Adidas Superstars. And then I've also added something in there that I would like to become, a partner of JourneyTEAM and become a shoe distributor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the reply button to this email. And what's going to happen is it's going to, like I would expect, here's my reply, and it's going to give me a little prompt up here. I have Copilot enabled in this environment, and it's going to ask me, and this is the Viva Sales icon, it's going to ask me, hey, do I want to use Copilot now to address this email? And I'm going to say yes. Now, just because I did this from an email reply prompt does not mean that I can't get to Viva Sales naturally. I can click the ellipses and I can get to Viva Sales as well, but this is just kind of, it feels good. It's a good experience. I don't have to worry about anything. I just do my reply and then I get my prompt and I open it up. So here I can see the different types of drafts I can use with Copilot. I can describe the email, I can make a proposal, I can address a concern. I also see some information here related to data that's inside of Teams or even in my CRM environment. Now, I'm not going to go into the details as far as how to use Viva Sales and interact with your CRM data in Dynamics or Salesforce. The focus is more on the AI generative content and how we can use that. Going back to that third slide that we had, right? The impact of using AI to help us with emails is that there's a huge time savings that we can leverage. Now, Copilot and AI, it's not a magic arrow in respect of we're not going to click the button to generate email and it's always going to be exactly what we want. But if it gets us 80% of the way there and we get an 80% time back savings, we're looking at 6 to 8 hours or 6 to 12 hours a week that we could possibly gain, if not more, just from writing emails. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Make a Proposal. And as I click on this, it's going to be working on giving me a draft that's going to be related to making a proposal from what I requested here below. And then I'm going to do a couple specific callouts as far as the dynamic data that it's going to reference. Oh, look at that. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to, let's try it one more time.
You know the rule whenever you're doing a webinar, everything goes wrong
Exactly.
technically, right?
Exactly. It worked. There we go. Second time. So here you can see all the blue text in here. So for example, all of this was generated by Copilot. Number two, the second thing that I want to make a call out is wherever there's blue text, it is referencing data in your CRM system. So in my case, it's Dynamics 365. Here's my contact. It's referencing Adidas Superstars, which is an opportunity product. And I can talk about that a little bit later. But this is not the product, but this is the opportunity product. So I have an opportunity with that line item. And it's kind of giving me the cost as far as what all this looks like, right? Here's my Nike Air Jordans, 30 units, total cost. So it's not automatically generating and doing the calculation and the aggregation as far as what the cost of this is. It knows that I have an opportunity product in there. But what I think is really cool and why I showcase this is that it is still like how it's representing and querying data inside of CRM. Because even though in this case, I want to create a new order. But if this was someone replying to a question of their existing order, all of the summary information is completely correct, right? So that's really cool. And then also, like, what does the future have in store? Where the future might be where it is going to look at your products and do your calculations for us, right? The future is very bright, and we're still in the very early stages of this. But I like to call out those specific use cases. The next thing that I want to do is for some things that are different now than compared to what they were even, just a couple weeks ago. So I have a couple other buttons down here at the bottom. Is I can click this add to email and it'll automatically copy it over to my email. I can just copy the content. And then I also have these two items right here. Adjust the draft. This is new. This wasn't around, let's say, even just a couple weeks ago. So this is fairly new. So I'm going to just come in here and I'm going to do something kind of represent what Rigo was representing in his PowerPoint slide deck, right? This isn't great grammar, right? Make a proposal, give him a discount 10%. And I'm going to click update. So this was a feature that was available in like obviously some other features of Copilot, but it wasn't here directly in Viva Sales, which is kind of cool. So I'm going to update that and look at that. It's going to automatically include the discount to my proposal, which is pretty cool.
Great. That's great.
So be careful because it'll do it. It'll actually apply this. So that is really cool. The other thing that you can do is you can always restore to the last version, try again, or start over. So it can take that content and like it does in the Dynamics marketing email content, is I can keep manipulating it without having to go back and then redo it. And it's also cool because it gives me a representation of where did I come from too. Look at my breadcrumbs. I clicked make a proposal and then I said say to make a proposal discount 10%. Now the next thing that I want to do is I'm going to go back and I'm just going to describe the email this time. And here we go. I'm going to use my less than ideal grammar and I'm going to describe the email that I want this time. I'm not even using full sentences. I'm just kind of being very specific as far as what I wanted to do. And look at that. It included a proposal. It didn't give me the math, but it still provided the proposal, and that's great grammar and that's good content. So I can give it shorthand essentially and still get an email foundation already created for me without me having to create everything from scratch.
It's a huge time saver, Brandon, because I think most of us, we struggle with one of two things, either fear of the blank page. What do we have to say and what are we going to say and what have I forgotten? Or we say too much and it just comes across as gibberish. This is going to bring structure and time savings back in a click.
Yep. I mean, it took just shorthand. It essentially took gibberish and gave me an email, and that's pretty slick. The next thing that I want to do, so this was the key functionality that I wanted to showcase inside of Viva Sales using Copilot, is the ability to, what's the why of why we would use this? Why would we teach or train the sales team to use this? Is that at the end of the day, it's going to save them time. And if you save the sales team time and or other resources on your team, right, there could be a direct correlation with revenue and selling more deals, right? The more time they have, the more things they can do. The more free time the team has to do what it is that is their actual day job. That's really powerful. The next thing that I'm going to do is you can see up here, I kind of have up in my groupings in Chrome this is kind of the agenda listed up here. So what I wanted to showcase a little bit, because I know this is going to come up because when I talk to customers and prospective customers, they ask me all the time, How do you control what data Copilot or the AI in your tenant is using, especially as you are surfacing that data to your customer service reps? An example being that you don't want it to just completely scrub the internet for all the responses that a customer service rep might ask it related to solving a customer's problem. It might be it might be scrubbing the internet and getting things from other products, services, processes that aren't your own. So what's cool about the Copilot in customer service is that you can identify what your knowledge sources are. In this case, it is set up to the knowledge base. So you can see that I have 5 knowledge articles in use in this environment that it is using. So when I ask Copilot questions, one of the first things it's going to do is it's going to be scrubbing the knowledge base. So again, that's another benefit and value add to how the knowledge base is used. And it might kind of change the perspective of organizations that are using the customer service module that aren't fully using the knowledge base, so that this might be a good example of there's now sufficient value for doing so, and that might be part of your future plans. The other thing, not just the knowledge base that it's leveraging, but you can have up to 5 web addresses that the AI will scan for content, and you could do 2 levels deep. So what this means, and why is this in place? So this is in place because you might have something where you have a knowledge base, you might have a SharePoint site or multiple other websites, and you want the content that your customer service team is querying for to be against content that you own, that you generate, that you approve, so on and so forth. So that's a way that you can control what is being shown in Copilot in your customer service module to your customer service representatives. This is new. I really like this. I think it makes a lot of sense. And this also correlates a lot with what customers or prospective customers are worried about. What if someone answers a question that's not accurate for your organization and how your company operates? So that's a little bit. I'm not going to be talking a lot about the setup, but that was one point that I really wanted to make because I get lots of questions about it. So I'm positive everybody else would be interested. The other thing, I know going back to what Tony's question is how do I enable Copilot for my organization? Like how does it work? So in my answer, I said for marketing, there's not really any configuration. You don't enable it. At least I don't remember enabling anything. But from a customer service perspective, if you go to productivity in the customer service admin center, you'll see I got 2 options here that are associated to AI Copilot. So in here, I can click manage and I can enable which features I want. Do I want the agents to be able to use Copilot? Do I want them to be able to use Copilot for customer chat from a digital perspective or for email? So it could be one or the other. I can also down here is record transcripts of agent interactions with Copilot. So I think Donald or Miles had a question related to how do I track and identify how successful an organization is being with Copilot from a KPI performance standpoint. Guess what? You can see how your team is using Copilot and what are their interactions. That can be really powerful. The other thing here, I'll just go back. So that's productivity from a Copilot help pane perspective. Here in summaries, is you can identify, do you want to make case summaries available? So all the Copilot features in customer service can be individually enabled. So if there's certain things that there's higher value than others, like it is all individually, you can enable all individually. So you can do summaries when an agent joins a conversation, when it ends. You can also down here, you also got the record options. So that's how you enable Copilot. If you have the proper licensing, all you have to do is come in here and enable these features from a customer service perspective. Now, going on to some of the more exciting stuff besides setup, even though I'm sure that is a lot of people had some questions, sentiment similar to Tony related to how do I use this now, and do I need to go through IT if I'm already the CRM admin, and what does that look like? The next features that I'm going to be showcasing is related to Copilot when you are just navigating in the system. So I am in the Customer Service Workspaces app. So I'm in the Customer Service module. What I have up here is I just have a very basic case, right? I don't even have business process flow. It's as simple as it can be. And over here on the right, you can see that I can interact with Copilot. So I have a Copilot icon on the right It's right next to my Microsoft Teams icon from the help pane perspective, and I can ask a question. So I can come in here and I could say, hey, how do I fix a bike chain? And I'm going to do a couple specific callouts, and let me see. Sorry, I'm just going to click around because I might have had another one that was really good. Okay, I do, but I'm just going to show the basics right here. What it's going to do is it's going to get me some content, and then it's also going to use it, and it's going to show me what data sources it leveraged for that content as well, if it used data sources. So here's the content it gave me, and I do have, in this environment, I do have a couple knowledge articles related to bike maintenance, bike chain, bike repair. So you can see here it generated this content. I can identify sources, and look at that. I have a knowledge article that it referenced on how to change or repair a bike chain. So if I click on this, I'm in the customer service workspace, and so it's going to open a new tab, and it's going to open up that knowledge article. And here, look at that. It gave me a variation of the content that's already included in my knowledge article. Not the exact one, it's not the exact content, but you can see here that it is summarizing what it is, and it's giving it as an option to me so that I can use this content related to this case. So that's kind of, I really like that it shows you not only, hey, it came up with this content, but also where did it come from? Like what was influential in this content? The next thing that I want to do is I'm going to show what this looks like from from an email directly inside of Dynamics, as well as from the Omnichannel perspective. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to go to my timeline, I'm going to click email. And as I do so, it's going to open up the write and email pane on the right for me. So I'm in email full screen. Make sure it's the email full screen and you don't have the ability to where it does like the in pop-up email widget for those that already have sales. So you want it to open full screen so you can use the Copilot preview feature. Guess what? This looks very similar to how it looks like inside of Outlook. I have my suggestions. I can click on these and I can describe the email that I would like. And then it will give me some options. So I'm just going to say provide product services or provide product service details. What it's going to do is it's going to generate an email for me, but it's also going to be looking at some dynamic content associated to my record too. So it's going to know what products I have purchased as well as scrubbing the knowledge base. So in this case, it actually didn't pull any of my products, but again, it's looking at the knowledge base. I can come in here for sources. Look, instead of last time where it only referenced one knowledge article, it gave me a combination of 3 knowledge articles in here. That's really cool. So again, this is how you would use write an email. Now from the even though I'm not showing it, but from the sales perspective, this is the similar experience. So instead of me being in the customer service workspaces app, I would be in the sales hub, and then I would have these capabilities from a sales perspective. And oops, I misclicked, and I'm gonna come down here. And what I'm gonna do is I can copy this email, and it'll automatically copy it to my email over here in Dynamics. So it'll just copy it right over. So, and then again, I have my 80%. I can modify this, ship it out to the customer, and now I'm also tracking inside of my customer service module. Now to the omni-channel experience. So in customer service, you also have the capability of using direct digital messaging channels. So what you're seeing on my screen right now is I have a chatbot. And from here, I'm going to interact with this chatbot and show how it works inside of Dynamics as well. So if I come over here in this tab, this is Omnichannel. I got my chatbot open. I can have a conversation with myself. I can interact with this customer. I can see how they interacted with that bot, and I can give them some feedback. And I'm going to show you how this kind of translates as far as the Copilot experience from a digital messaging perspective. I am having an issue with my bike chain. Come over here, having an issue over here with my bike chain. And on the right, this one I've already done a little bit of pre-work. So here you can see I've already been interacting with Copilot as far as getting some content. And I'm going to just walk through a little bit as far as what I have done. So the first thing I asked is, how do I fix a bike? So that was a little too generic and it didn't really have any hits, right? So I didn't get any hits for that specific, for those knowledge articles. And so it asked me to clarify. So I was specified fix bike chain. So there we go. Now it gave me some specifics, right? Repair a bike flat tire. So it didn't give me it gave me that knowledge article. So, and it gave me that content. So that's really cool. So now I asked, hey, you know what? I want to add something about maintenance in here too. Then bike maintenance. And then it gives me this source, and that one it didn't give me any knowledge articles. So you can see how it kind of works and how it can interact with the data that you have in your system directly, and how it kind of even manipulates that and formats that as far as how you would like. The other thing, and some of this is I've already showed, but I just thought it was kind of cool to see it all in one timeline. So you can kind of see the history and kind of how you used it. The next thing I'm going to do is that you can copy this, and you can also just, hey, if this response is good enough, you can just send this response to the customer. I can also edit and then send this to the customer. In my case, I'm just going to say, hey, you know what? That's great. Send that to the customer. I just click the send to customer button and it automatically put it into my chat and send it to that customer. Now, in my case, I'm using a website chatbot, but this could be Instagram. This could be using a transcript and you're on the phone and you're repeating this back to the customer. It could be other digital messaging channels, Facebook, that kind of stuff. WhatsApp and also SMS. Because this is how it turns the AI is working for you. And this is kind of it's like using a Google search capability or Bing search or ChatGPT to look through your data for you without you having to look through it for yourself. And I think that that's kind of why this is so powerful, because it's not searching for just, like I said, your knowledge articles, but all the data that you have in the system. Now, the next thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about in Dynamics marketing. So we got marketing segments and then we got email content. And I know we want to save a little bit of time to also answer some additional questions. So from a marketing content perspective, we can use Copilot to describe the audience that we want from a segment. Now, one specific call out is I am in real-time marketing for those that have the Dynamics marketing module. This will not work in outbound marketing. You need to be in real-time marketing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just show a couple of the capabilities. Now, as far as query assist stuff, I'm sure we've all had a varying level of success and experience using these types of capabilities. This one, I think, has a lot of potential. In our marketing engagements, we spend a lot of time helping the customers understand how to query their data and to use it to their advantage from a marketing process automation perspective. Here, I just did contacts who live in Utah, and then it gave me a result, and I can click use, and it will automatically put that into my segment query builder. That's pretty helpful, right? I was very specific. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, I'm going to just make it slightly more complex. And this still isn't a super complex segment, but I'm going to do contacts who live in Draper. Draper is a city in Utah, and just do Draper, Utah. And I'm using Copilot, and it is going to give me the line item that I need to include in my email. Oops, I click delete and it reset my thing. I'll just do it again real quick. We got plenty of time. I just got one other cool thing to show. I mean, it's all cool. There we go. Address one city is Draper and address one state city is Utah. So I can do very specific asks and I can build queries easily, especially if I'm not super familiar with the database structure or how I need to get to the data that I need to. This is where Copilot can help from a segment builder. And I think that I'm very hopeful this is going to be very powerful in the future. The next thing is one of my favorites. So from an email content perspective is I just have a really simple email here. And over here, I can use Copilot to help me create an email. So I have some additional, pre-built templates that I can use, but I can also do custom. And what I want to show is how you can use this custom interface to be able to create content. So I can give it 3 options, and I really love this because you can give 3 specific things and it will generate some very unique content specific for you. And I think generally this content it generates, it's not just that foundation, it is almost ship ready content. So I'm going to say, thank you for joining our webinar. And I'm going to make up some stuff through the persona of the JourneyTEAM shoe company. We are announcing a new limited edition colorway for our most popular shoe. Don't miss out on this opportunity. I can add up to 2 additional key points, and I can identify what type of voice I want to use. And I'm going to click get ideas. It is going to give me 5 variations of those 3 inputs that I can choose from. If I don't like any of those 5 variations, I can also request another 5 variations. On top of this is that it will pre-populate these variations for this email content with dynamic content. So I don't have to go punch in the dynamic content myself. These are not just placeholders. That is the dynamic content. You can see here I got 5 variations. I can click more, get more ideas for another 5. And so I can drag this wherever I want on my email, and my content is done. And then I can modify this if I want over there, so on and so forth. But this is really cool because, again, going back to how does it save us time? Coming up with email content and marketing email content takes time. If we can use Copilot to generate the foundational aspect of what we are looking to do and achieve, and we're using our human creativity to make it special or unique or spruce it up just a little bit, we are going to save a lot of time, and it's going to make it to where we can spend more time selling and more time helping customers and or more time being able to get more marketing content out to our customers as well.
I especially love that because I've been using AI tools for like the past few years from a content perspective for marketing. And I used to be happy if it could get me like 40 to 50% of the way there and save me like, half hour, an hour of my time. Whereas like this has been like, it gets me closer to that 90 to 99%. And then I'm just going in and making it sound like me or the tone, just that little bit more where I feel like I'm like, oh yeah, I did this and now it's perfect type of thing. So I really like to see this, and it's been really helpful. I know for what I'm doing in our marketing here is doing too.
Excellent. Well, I'll turn it back over to you, Shay. I'll stop sharing my screen.
Great, and I will share. We have just a little bit more to go over today. Some of those kind of wrapping things up. I know we got a ton of questions in the chat, so we're gonna go ahead and get to some of those questions right now as soon as I get to the page I need to get to. In the meantime, while we're answering those questions, I'm going to share the link to our survey. Again, this is for a chance to win a $100 Amazon gift card, and it's this QR code right here that you can scan with your phone. So let me pull up our questions that we have because there were quite a few that came in. So sorry, I'm finding my place, and I think. Okay, so how does the implementation of Viva Sales and Copilot impact the traditional sales training methodologies? And what new training approaches are recommended to maximize the benefits? And I think this is more kind of a definitely, it depends on your sales implementation in your organization. I think it puts more of the emphasis on finding out what problems your clients are looking to solve and kind of tweaking your implementation, your methodology to that. Brandon, I'm not sure if you have other thoughts around that, but I think it's kind of like working with the AI and kind of gearing it towards collecting these kind of templated questions that are still helpful for finding out that problem, but also makes it easier to utilize Viva Sales later?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. When it comes to, well, especially with training and then sales training, is that you need to have a good plan. They need to understand the team. I suppose this transcends a lot more than just the sales team, but every end user needs to understand what we are looking to achieve and why, and how does it benefit them. And I don't think that the training methodology really is any different, except for you need to make sure you have one. If you're not doing training and you don't have a methodology or a plan for adoption, this isn't going to magically solve that problem, because I think the key here is that you're not implementing cool technology for the sake of implementing cool technology. It needs to meet a business objective. And at the end of the day, what does the sales team want to do? They want to sell more. They want to meet their quota. They want to crush their quota. They want to get their commissions. And if you approach this in the respect of how do you help them be more successful, that is what Copilot and Viva Sales is offering them, is more money at the end of the day and better growth for the organization.
Great. And then somebody asked, can we use Copilot even if our organization hasn't implemented it yet, like we can with Viva Sales?
Yes, I put a chat answer to that one, but as you can see is I went through the setup as far as Copilot inside of customer service, and yes, you can configure it inside of the dynamic CRM module itself. So it's a little different than for those that have set up Viva Sales, where you have to go do the admin, like you deploy it, or you have the option to deploy it, and then you also have the configuration settings inside of Teams. It's not like that. It's different than the Viva Sales implementation.
Excellent. Okay, and then the next one we had was, what are the key challenges in implementing and adopting Viva Sales and Copilot, and then how can organizations effectively address them?
Yeah, going back to that's really similar to the previous one. It's just making sure that there is a plan and that business objectives are up front and center of that plan. And the communication is had to all of those end users.
I think it's
I think I
also,
would.
I'm
Oh, go
sorry.
ahead,
Oh,
Steve.
I was just going to say, I think it's also important for companies to develop their own unique perspective about AI. Like, what, is it a go or a no go? Like, is it ready? Do they feel excited about using it, or are they really too scared? They got to come to a conclusion about that first. And then once they decide they're going to use it, you can see based upon everything that Brandon and Rigo have shown you today that there's a real, efficiency right here that's gained. And so what are you going to do with that extra time? If you need to figure out how to monetize that time and use that time wisely. If you don't answer those questions before you implement, then it's not going to have the impact that you want it to.
I totally agree with that, Steve. And I wanted to say something similar of like you have to identify where your holdups are in your process. And then the next step is to identify like how the AI tool, whether it's Viva Sales or whatever it might be, how it can expedite, and then what you're going to get from that back. So for me, if I can hurry and write some things, that gives me time back to strategize and develop my plans out further. That helps me save hours a week, which is honestly translates into more revenue and more strategy and being ahead of the curve. So I think those are some of the key challenges that a lot of people are excited about AI. What makes it fuzzy is like, oh, there's so much, but you also have to do the like work of identifying here are our issues and here's how it can expedite our processes to make us efficient and uh, bring in more money, really. All right, so the next one is, in what ways does Copilot assist sales representatives in handling complex sales scenarios? And how does it complement human intuition and creativity?
I think that's kind of one of those multi-part answers. It's not a quick answer, right? I mean, today we've been talking about Viva Sales and we've been talking about the Copilot for the business applications. There's Copilots for every layer of Microsoft toolset, ranging from M365, Word, Excel, and so on, all the way up into Azure, where you can create your own Copilots for other systems that aren't even Microsoft. And so I don't think that there's a simple answer to, how to do that. I don't know, other opinions?
I think you're right, and especially since you especially know this being with Microsoft, that they're always adding more to it. What
every
Viva
day.
Sales was released as months ago is completely different than what it's doing today. And that's the same with Copilot. So for me, I think it's only going to grow in how it helps those complex sales scenarios. And I think it always comes back to it doesn't do the process for you. It enables you to do the process more efficiently and quicker. And so you just do kind of putting the cherry on top.
Yeah, I think it's a question of it's not doing work for you, it's doing work with you. Change in preposition, right? And that's what's important to remember. It's just like you would manage an assistant if it was a real person, you have to manage AI too, right? You work together. You tell it your expectations of what you needed to create, and it says, "Here, boss, is this what you needed?" And usually with a person too, right? You'd say, "Well, that's really good. We're 75% of the way there, but I need you to change this headline. I want you to add this piece of information." Now, instead of having to go back and forth with people or a team to do these things, it's a click of a button. With Copilot for M365 for Word, you can say, "You know what? I need a new proposal for customer X. Use this past proposal template so I have a consistent message and appearance with my customers. Bring in this data from Excel." You click a button and it creates that proposal for you. But you're still going to want to add things from the human element and what you know about the customer based upon your relationship. And then with another click of a button, you can say, "Now create a PowerPoint presentation so I can present my proposal as well." And it'll do that in a few minutes as well. So just the way you would use a real live assistant or team of people to help you do your job, now you're doing it digitally.
Yeah, I love that. And that's what really makes me excited about it coming up here, like especially towards the end of this year. I'm super excited to see where it goes. Let's see, we've already covered a bunch of these in some of these other conversations that we've been having. So somebody asked if we could provide real life case studies or examples. And I know me and my team are using Copilot. I believe our sales teams are here. And so it's still fairly new and they're always adding more to it. So I wouldn't say that there's a whole lot of case studies on it yet. It's kind of more of those, I think that will happen over the next year as people implement it more, as more of the features come out. We'll get to that point where there's more of that happening. But all we can really give you right now is like that it's making us more productive and saving us time. So just wanted to get that call out there. I know that's an important question for some people. But I want to thank everyone for joining us today. I know it's asking a lot you're taking time out of your day, and we really appreciate you doing that with us. And I also want to thank Steve from Microsoft. Thank you for sharing your time and expertise with us today, as well as Brandon and Rigo. Um, so if you have any further questions about Viva Sales or Copilot, please feel free to reach out to us. Make a note in that survey. Also, make sure to sign up for our Tech Insider update coming up in August, or for those of you going to Marketing AI Conference next week in Cleveland, we'll see you there. We will be talking more about this. So thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks all. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.